Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be diving into Cardano. And it's been a little while since we've covered ADA, but we thought today would be a perfect day, certainly given how Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, has been all over Twitter for some of the comments that he made in a recent AMA regarding the whole situation with the SEC versus the crypto space. We know that Cardano has been very unfortunate and found itself in pretty much every single lawsuit that the SEC has brought forward against exchanges. So what I wanted to do in this video is, first of all, look at where Cardano has been mentioned again, do a little bit of recapping, and then dive into Charles Hoskinson's own comments in regards to the lawsuit, in regards to the SEC's treatments of things, in regards to Bitcoin and how that maybe isn't in the same box as other altcoins. You know, an altcoin just means anything other than Bitcoin, an alternative coin. That's really where the term was phrased. So we thought today would be a perfect day to dive into all this and cover Cardano. However, guys, if you are fans of Cardano, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because over the coming weeks and months, we have some absolutely fire Cardano content coming out for you guys, where we're really going to look at the trajectory of Cardano now that partner chains have been established. We are a massive fan of a parallel blockchain system, which essentially means you can run multiple chains as long as there's one kind of central chain. You know, for Polkadot, for example, this is the relay chain. For Cardano, it's going to be sort of Cardano's layer one. And this is a very exciting prospect, and a prospect that really has huge potential. So over the coming weeks and months, we're really going to be diving into that in a lot more detail, explaining the ins and outs of it and showing you guys why we think it's going to be such a big deal. But again, really what I want to do in this video is look at some of what's been going on recently with Cardano, hear from Charles himself actually outlining his thoughts and his response to, obviously, in my opinion, the Kraken lawsuit. Now, let's straight off the bat dive into the lawsuits and where Cardano has been mentioned. So you can see this was against Payward Incorporated, which is Kraken. It's the name that they essentially trade under. And of course, Cardano was mentioned. If we go down to page 15, you know, it's the first cryptocurrency that they mention, ADA. Many of the crypto assets available through Kraken are securities, is the opening statement. Then they mention Cardano and a number of others. So this was the most recent one, which you could say doesn't make as much sense given they've already settled with the SEC. And then, of course, this is Coinbase Incorporated. Again, Cardano shows up at the top of sort of Coinbase's lawsuit against the SEC. They also do a piece on Cardano where they explain why they believe it's a security. And it basically has said the same thing in every single lawsuit that's been brought forward against centralized exchanges in regards to selling cryptocurrencies that they believe are securities. So Cardano's really been at the forefront, the fire of this. I think that has a lot to do with the nature of its size. You know, it's the largest cryptocurrency today that's been mentioned out of all of them. You will notice that Bitcoin and Ethereum and even things like Polkadot don't get mentioned at all, which potentially is a good sign for those cryptos. With Ethereum, however, though, and I can see Charles, and we're going to dive into Charles's comments in just a second, I can see his annoyance with not treating everything with the same kind of standards, because Ethereum, by all accounts, if they're classifying Cardano as a security, Ethereum absolutely is that as well. If you're saying that there's centralized entities, and you name a few, and you're also saying that funds were raised via these centralized entities through the token sales, Ethereum have been doing that long before, even after Hinman had kind of came out and classified it as a non-security. So you can see this is, just to finish this off, the Binance lawsuit. And again, this one's a really long one, but if we scroll down to sort of page 90, you can see, you know, Cardano gets mentioned again. So very unlucky. Let's head over now, guys, and dive into Charles Hoskinson replying, I guess, or making some remarks on this. I'll give some comments and then we'll wrap the video up.
Then they come in and say it's a security. Okay, well, what the hell does that mean if it's decentralized? How does Bitcoin register? Oh, but it's not. Then explain to me the fucking difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and the rest of the gang. Explain it to me. Like I'm 5 years old. Run the goddamn Howey test on it and show me the difference between the two. Tell me, is there an expectation of return with the goddamn orange pill moon boys? It's there. There's so many different planks and angles that you can take a look at this thing from. And by the way, if you subpoena and attack about 3 different entities, you could perform a 51% attack on Bitcoin, because that's the way the hash power works. But it's decentralized, apparently. And Team Orange gets a complete pass. It's a pathetic fucking joke. It's an absolutely pathetic joke. And it would be funny if not for the fact that hundreds of millions of dollars of legal fees have been exhausted in this Pyrrhic war that's being fought on the industry. And they'll lose court case after court case, as they already have and will continue. And then at some point, it'll stop. There will not be an apology. There's not going to be any money that comes back, and we'll just move on like we did with the Kennedy assassination. We'll just move on like we did with Vietnam. We'll just move on like we did with Iraq and Afghanistan. We'll just move on like we're doing right now with COVID. We'll just move on like we did with all the things that have happened the last 50, 60, 70 years in the United States history. It has to stop. It honestly has to stop. Why do I praise libertarians come in? Because the only people that seem to think the only people seem to improve the situation, the people that are unraveling the government. It's not accountable anymore. People harm people, they get away with it, and they just move on, and nothing changes. I'm tired of it. I think our industry is tired of it. The entire reason cryptocurrencies exist is not because somebody woke up and said, man, tokens on the internet is such a good idea. The entire reason cryptocurrencies exist is that we're trying collectively to reestablish the social contract, because the social contract is horrifically broken. If the people in charge are unelected, unaccountable, and don't ever have to prove to us, the beneficiaries of the public trust, that they're doing good for us. And when they screw up, nothing happens to them. They get a promotion, they get elected to higher office, and we just have to move on as a society. That is not a government for the people, by the people, of the people. That is something else. That looks a lot more like the thing that we rebelled against when we founded this goddamn country.
You know what? One of the things that really attracted me to Cardano was Charles Hoskinson. He is somebody that I think really understands this space on more than just a technical level. He understands the movement that is decentralization that distributed ledgers have essentially brought around. But he said a lot of things that I really agree with there. I think with Bitcoin, the reason that Bitcoin hasn't been tackled or even mentioned is because they would have no way of doing that. Who do you sue? Who do you go after? And he brings up a number of really good points there. Bitcoin, if you look at the hash power, it's very concentrated. You could also say that about proof of stake networks. So I think he also then goes on to make some really good points about there will come a point in time when a lot of this is just going to be forgotten about and irrelevant, regardless of all the damage that's being caused to this industry as a whole, the stifling of it, the investors that actually the SEC in many regards, as far as I see it, haven't actually helped investors out to this point. Look at FTX. They met with Sam Bankman-Fried multiple times, whereas they're kind of going after people at this point in the market, projects like Cardano, when if you look at a lot of the scams that I know are smaller, and that's probably why they've gone after Cardano, a lot of them just get allowed to run. So the whole hypocrisy of this thing and sort of nonsensical nature, I think that nobody would have a problem if they came out the SEC and made it black and white in regards to what is a security, what isn't, and actually treating everything case by case rather than just applying a test where to most cryptocurrencies, an element of it does, but the Howey test, you need all three of those elements to essentially complete something and classify it as a security, which they've not done merit by merit. They've just kind of made accusations. There's been no legal clarity, and if you look at the XRP, which was really a lawsuit against Chris, Brad, and Ripple, again, three entities. They mentioned three entities with Cardano and a lot of the other projects. They lost that lawsuit spectacularly. And if Ripple lost the lawsuit, you can't help but think if they brought lawsuits against other cryptocurrencies, they'd lose them. Ripple have a lot of money, $100 million was spent on fighting them. Coinbase are fighting them. Kraken are now going to fight them. They've lost a lawsuit against XRP. Could they win a lawsuit against Cardano? I think there's many things that, for example, no tokens were sold to US citizens, and it wasn't even tokens, it was coupons that essentially were used to, in Japan, that was used to raise the funds for Cardano. So I can see Charles' disgruntlement. Charles has been all over Twitter. Of course, this was posted from Altcoin Daily. Charles gets a really tough time on Twitter, and I don't think it's necessary. I think he's nothing short of a pioneer and somebody who has contributed to this entire space massively. You can see Adam Back weighing in on the conversation, saying it's very simple. Bitcoin didn't have an ICO, so on and so forth. I can see that. But the thing is, neither did Cardano, and I can understand where people are driving or perhaps showing differences between Bitcoin and Cardano. Bitcoin is completely a unique case, and I've often been against calling every crypto an altcoin, but in the sense that what Bitcoin's trying to do, what it is, how it came about, it's so unique, and you can kind of, I guess, sympathize with calling other things altcoins as a result of it. But these systems, these operating systems, which is what these blockchains are still going to be huge, and they will overcome this, just like Ripple did, or XRP, where XRP was actually classified by Judge Torres as a non-security. It doesn't comply as a security. It's going to be very interesting to see how things progress. And unfortunately, regulatory hurdles are a part of becoming a recognized space. If you look in the 1990s, look at what happened with the internet. Look at what happened with PCs and how they tried to limit things and, sue companies like Microsoft, for example. And it was all overcame. And once you had got that overcoming, the industry was really allowed to propel. So that's really all I've got for you in this video, guys. I'm very interested to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think Charles is right on what he's saying? Do you think he's wrong? And let me know what you think. As I say, we've got lots of amazing content coming out for you guys in the coming weeks and months in regards to Cardano, some of the fundamental changes it may see with the implementation of partner chains, and looking at Cardano as a kind of whole, some of the interesting projects I have, and I'm going to say this, started getting back into projects, small projects that are built on Cardano that I think are going to absolutely kill it. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you enjoyed the content, like, appreciate it as a comment. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.